Hello. Many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, what are the laws of Commander? The rules to gain power and keep it within our favorite multiplayer game, which often involves politics, cunning, and on occasion skill. Well, to go over just what we even mean by the laws of Commander, I have invited the gang from, or two of the three of the gang from One More Mana. Ced and Ken are here today to talk to us all about the laws of power for Commander. Ced, Ken, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And for those unfamiliar, the One More Mana YouTube channel is an awesome place to go for all things Commander. They have covered the rules of power for Commander, as well as deck techs, other fun stuff, everything that you could really want involving this. And so I will be sure to leave links in this video's description. Go check them out, throw them a sub. I'm a big fan, and I think you will be too. Today we're talking about ideas of how to acquire power or avoid being manipulated by those politics at the table. And so this is a popular series that Ken and Ced do on the One More Mana YouTube channel. And they're going to come here and just highlight a few of the laws for us.
So the 48 Laws of Power is a book that was written by Robert Greene, and it basically summarizes or details 48 principles that you can use in the business world to maintain dominance and power over people. It sounds pretty sociopathic, psychotic.
I'd say it sounds I'm on the record as saying this sounds really psychotic, though I would apply that has to do with how you interpret the rules and interact with other people more so than them as a business setting.
Right. And really, that's why we wanted to kind of break them down to first see if they can even be applied to Magic the Gathering, because it is a strategic game. You can look at it almost like a business setting. There is a player who's going to be more dominant than the others. And so we wanted to see how these things apply and if they could apply. And so that's why we break down each law one by one and see how you can use them in game and outside of the game. And so it's not just about necessarily using them, but also recognizing when people are using them against you and understand how to defend against these and recognize them when you see them. So it's not just going to be a catch-all. I'm going to use this law against this person today and they're going to feel my wrath. It's about understanding how the people across from you are playing the game and basically how you can also just kind of defend against them as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note that intent and use is very critical here, that we're talking about these as kind of just rhetoric for Commander and a fun way to look at ways to get ahead in Commander, or possibly to be aware of what your opponents are doing in Commander versus other instances we may have heard of with these rules being taken into more the realm of, I don't know, American Psycho or something like that. That, you know, at the end of the day, rhetoric itself is not so dangerous as how you use it. And I especially like, as someone who used to teach rhetoric, that you mentioned to be aware of it so that you can defend against it, which I'm definitely very excited to hear about in this discussion.
Just coming into the game, when Ken and I first started playing this, we heard about the psychographic as far as what, I guess what Mark Rosewater said, that you have reasons why people play the game and also how they play the game. So you have your Johnny, your Spike, I forget the last name, but and your Tim.
Your Tim.
Yeah. And so we just always felt like something was missing. So we don't necessarily know if this slots into this or if this goes against it. But we feel like this is just another tool that you can bring to the table.
But this, essentially, it breaks down to, this game is essentially like other games like chess, where it's a form of mental combat. You're coming to this with an appreciation with your opponent, that you guys are sitting down to compete and try to outthink and outwit each other. And like things like this, whether 48 Laws of Power or the Art of War, you can associate some of these things to augment your play style to confuse and, of course, subdue your enemy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, like you just mentioned Art of War, I know our friends Jimmy and Josh over at the Command Zone are quite obsessed with applying the ideas of the Art of War to Commander. And I think that's another example of being able to have an interpretation like this to just get better and better enjoyment out of the game.
Yeah. And very last thing, one reason we also brought this into this is because we feel like people get so absorbed into just playing the cards. I'm coming to the game shop. I'm coming to the table to just do what the cards say and do what the cards do, pack up and leave. We feel like there's a human interaction that needs to happen with Magic. And that's also one of the reasons why we focused on this, is that your cards aren't just a resource. The people at the table are also resources. And we feel like there needs to be more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Intuitiveness, maybe when it comes to how you're playing the game, and just being more mindful about the people at the table. Don't just be so absorbed into the cards that you're playing.
But we can't forget that first more important rule about Magic, that reading the card explains the card. Oh my God, there's some that hits home for me.
Very true. Very true. All right. Well, with that being said, let's start getting into these rules. Let's start with the first one. I'm going to guess at them. We're going to start with me making a guess. So what is the first law that we're going to cover today for Commander?
Take it away.
Yeah. So first, we want to talk about never outshining the master.
Never outshine the master. So this is what I think of. You tell me if I'm right or wrong, and then you can go over it in a little more detail. But when you say never outshine the master, I think of how we always say that the least powerful deck in Commander always comes in second. A joke being that the person who is the least threat gets targeted the least and then ends up sticking around in the whole game. So I think in Commander, never outshine the master means don't be too powerful or too in front of the game, or you might just find a big bullseye on your head. Try and keep it on the DL until your opponents have faded away, and then you can strike. Am I thinking along the right lines here?
So, yeah, you're actually right on the line right there. See, the thing is with Commander, when you come to the table, there's a lot of things that, can get a lot of information that's given before you even put down and, start shuffling up and dealing. So when you sit down and we say, don't never outshine the master, there are a couple of commanders out there that when we see instant target on your back, we coming for you. You know what, everybody? That guy.
Yep. So Kalia is on my list. Ore Dragon is on my list. Edgar Markov is on my list.
Captain Sisei's on my list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, ever since Planeswalkers became legendary, I see you, Sisei. But pretty much when you come to the table, you don't want to be the instant arch enemy. You want to come in smooth, undercover, just like everybody else. That's why we do things sometimes called secret commanders, where we build our decks and we put our commander that we want to focus on in the deck.
Yeah. And overall, it's about your play strategy and your mindset. So you want to make sure that you're not affecting the game too much. And also you don't look too threatening while you're playing the game as well. So there are some things you can do along the way as far as drawing attention to a more powerful player or making another player seem more powerful than they really are. But essentially, come in number 2 or number 3, let the most powerful people battle it out, waste their resources, and then you come in and scoop the game away.
That's definitely, I think, really good commander advice, and I never, ever follow it. I get too trigger happy when I get a good hand, especially early on, and I'll just go full force out the gate. I'm not guilty of playing with the overly powerful commanders. Like, I won't play with Edgar Markov. I'll do something silly with Anowin, the Ruin Sage, as my vampire commander, perhaps. But then I will still want to show off what I can do way too early, become an early threat, and then usually get taken out first or second. So that's definitely something I need to work on.
Yeah, when I first started the game, I had to learn that lesson real quick. I was like, why is everybody beating me? It's only an NMR. What's going on?
Wait to strike. Maybe
there are some things that you can do, some actions you can take to make sure that you seal the deal. Make sure that you come in first place and make sure that you're undercover throughout the entire game. So through this, you can kind of build your deck in a way to either play low threats or just do just enough to the board to make a little bit of a wave, but not put yourself out there too much. But by the end of the game, when you're ready to make the final strike, one advice that I have is use your opponent's resources against them. So cards like Reign of Power, Insurrection, basically your board shouldn't be as powerful as your opponent's board, and you can use their boards against them.
That's cool. That's really cool. That's definitely good advice. So the next law is always say less than is necessary. Always say less than is necessary. This is already, I feel like you have stacked these laws against me, because the one thing I can't help but do is always run my mouth. Anyone who's ever seen me on game nights knows that for certain. Always say less than is necessary. But if I'm going to be analytical about this law, I'm going to guess that you don't mean my actual chatter at the table so much as what I reveal about perhaps what my deck's intentions are, what I have in my hand, whatever information that I can withhold from my opponent's knowing. That's what I should say less, talk less, as it were.
You're pretty much almost there. It is about not just revealing information verbally, but we're also talking about body language as well. Yeah.
So some people, when they sit down to play, there's sometimes if they're in a really tight spot, you can see that they're sweating. You can see that they're really nervous that you're about to take out their creature. So you want to keep a poker face. You want to keep it straight. You're like, what? You want to wipe my board? You know what? I'll help you wipe my board. I don't care. What? You want to blow up my lands, and you don't want to let them know where you're weak. So basically, you like some people as soon as you target something, they want to jump up and say, wait, why don't you target their things? Why don't you target somebody else? Why are you coming at me? Well, thank you. You just told me that by taking out that one piece, I decimate your game plan.
It's not just about what you're saying verbally, but also listen to what your opponents are saying, because they're definitely listening to what you have to say. So you can listen to their weaknesses, what their strengths are, and use that against them throughout the game.
So I do I feel like you're literally describing me, because that's exactly how I behave with over-the-top stuff. Are there any more subtle signs for those a little less exuberant than myself that maybe I could look for in my opponents in this area?
Try to make them reveal more things about their game plans and themselves throughout the game. Again, while you can give out information about what it is that you need, what it is that you're looking for. Maybe you need a certain piece off the table, but you make it known that that piece needs to be gone because it's going to affect everybody, not just your game plan. You want to make threats central to everyone, not just yourself.
And you can also tell within the play styles too. For example, if there's a bunch of monsters on the table, a bunch of creatures, and everybody's sweating but one person, you know they either have a fog effect or a wrath effect, or maybe even Teferi's protection over there. Like you can tell based on their color combination what they could possibly have in their deck too, especially if they're playing blue, or as I like to call it, the no fun deck.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely see how that's advantageous. All right, I'm going to start changing my approach in this area, especially because I think I'm very guilty of violating this law as a matter of being. So I'm going to work very, very hard there. The next law, what is the next law that I should be paying attention to that we're going to discuss today?
Law 3 is conceal your intentions.
So how is that different than say less than is necessary?
So this is a little bit different because you can still try not to say more than you need to say, but also still this is also looking at like body language. I'm going to cheat a little bit because we've been playing cards for a long time, Ken and I. And so we have poker faces. We actually look at how people hold their hands. If you put your cards down on a table, I don't think you have confidence in what your game plan is.
Also, because of how we used to play, like me and him have been playing different card games. And for example, if by holding your hands, I can tell which side your lands are on and which side are your power cards on. And I can also tell by how you're moving your cards and repositioning where, as we like to call it, that fire is, where that heat is coming from. Because whenever you move your cards, you're repositioning your heater cards to wherever your dominant hand is. So it's a lot of little mini traits that we can see people that we can isolate to figure out what they're doing. And also, when I say conceal my intentions, sometimes I use my commander itself as a feint. For example, one of my favorite commanders is Newmont, the Devastator, and I'm pretty sure you've heard of him.
Breakdown real quick, was a 3 in Jeskai.
It's a 6/6 body with flying, and when it makes contact, you can pay 2 and a red to destroy 2 target lands. Now, the second I put Newmont on the battlefield, everybody's like, oh my God, it's a land destruction deck. Run for the hills. But secretly, it's a soldier deck, and they can never tell. So while they're sitting there focusing on Newmont, my soldiers are just marching in.
Interesting. That's really interesting. You know, one of the problems I have a lot is when I play a combo deck and I start assembling those pieces, people immediately go to shut me down. I like the idea of distracting them by trying to build in a fake theme for them to be focused on instead of a surprise combo win that I might try and sneak out. Very interesting.
Also, real quick, one thing I love about his Newmont deck, if you hold up 7 mana and a player is playing blue, what do you suspect?
7 mana and on blue, you're going to absolutely get Cyclonic Rifted until they eventually ban it.
Not when you're playing against Ken.
Because, sometimes I just hold it up just to scare you. And I'll be like, go ahead, put down something. And then as soon as they get back to me, I don't have nothing. I'm just playing around with you.
But one thing I noticed specifically about Newmont, I'm not scared of Cyclonic Rift when 7 mana is up. He has Angel of the Dire Hour. This is a 7 mana, 5 and 2 white, flash. When it enters the battlefield, exile all target attacking creatures.
Gotta conceal those intentions, baby.
That's clever. That's super clever. The next law I see on the show notes here is protect your reputation. This one I can't for the life of me guess on, except perhaps that I used to have a bit of a problem with enjoying kind of lying in multiplayer games of Commander, where I used to love saying I won't attack you and then attack people, which was despicable. And I now absolutely have a rule that I make very clear, which is that if I give a word in a game, that I uphold it without question, that's like almost as though it were a rule of the game. And so I want my reputation in the game to just be that if I say I will abide by a politic rule, that my word is gold in that regard. But I don't know if that's what you guys are getting at here. What do you mean by protect your reputation?
Well, in our play group especially, we play with a lot of people. But as you play games with people, you start noticing several patterns about them, whether they're spike players or brand new players. But they build a reputation about their play. So some people, when you see, there comes Kevin. Kevin, he gets upset when he break up his combos. Oh, there go Mike right there. Mike likes to drag out the game because he takes 5 minutes between each turns. This is the reputation that you're building as you sit down. People don't realize that. And some people will, when you walk in the door and sit down at the table, they already made up their mind if they want to play with you or not.
Mostly when we're talking about this is having a very positive reputation. Actually notice how you affect your play group. So if you are a man of your word or you're not, maybe that's something you might want to work on. If you feel like you bring positivity and enjoyment, you play fun decks, you keep a positive energy, or, you're just very positive about yourself and very carry yourself. And that can really liven up a play group. And you will be someone that you want to play with.
Yeah. And as someone who, like I admittedly in my early days, did not follow that law, I'm proud to say I do now. I also can just say it's for the good of the game. You have a better experience. I had less fun playing Commander when I would pull that kind of antagonistic shenanigans with people, and I have a lot more fun now. And you're absolutely right. For people, it's the sort of thing where you might not get invited back to the table, but looking to have that sort of a bad reputation or bad behavior is not going to lead to any fun games of Commander, or perhaps to many more games of Commander. So yeah, absolutely an important law.
Yeah. And you know it's bad too when you walk in and all of a sudden everybody takes a deep breath because like, here we go again.
Absolutely, absolutely. But again, that's where they're going to stop inviting you, or perhaps just gang up on you first, or things like that. It's not doing you any good. It's not doing you any favors.
Yeah, that's happened several times where we're like, hey, look, guys, the first 3 turns, we gonna knock him out, and then we're gonna have a real game.
Okay, so what's the next law on our list?
So law 7, get others to do the work for you.
This one I think I know. It could be a dangerous one. This is where if there's a threat on the table that affects everyone, you want to do whatever you can to convince other people to use their resources to take it out so that you don't have to use yours. This is where you get into a little bit of a game of chicken. If you know an opponent is likely to have a counter spell and you have a counter spell, and it's like, all right, who's going to counter this? Is it you? Is it me? And you want to try and be like, well, I don't have it, but we also can't let that spell resolve. Is that a bit of what this law is?
Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head. See, that's the thing. You want to make the other players flinch first. Because let's say you use all your removal and your counter spells. Now you're just sitting out in the wind without any clothes on and just being attacked by anybody who comes by. You don't want that. Just you want to use your resources sparingly. And like I said, just look them in the eye like, yeah, I can take the hit, but can you?
But then don't you run into trouble that what if they go, yeah, actually I can take the heat, and they really can, and they let it resolve, and then you're up a certain creek.
You take the gamble. You got to do it. It's just a game.
And if you constructed your deck correctly, then you should be able to bounce back from anything.
And so this is the mindset that we really want to try to instill in players, is that don't try to do all the work yourself. You're going to be outnumbered when it comes to resources. Also, don't think of this as a 1v3 game, because now you're thinking about arch enemy. And that's not really the mindset you should have. Try to figure out how to delegate resources and responses across the table. Vary by varying threats.
See, he's being very gentle with it. I call it cutthroat. All right. We're all trying to figure out how to escape the cave at the same time with the treasure.
Right.
All right, but then once we get to the exit, I'm gonna trip you up. That's all we doing.
See who can outrun the bear.
Right. You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the other people trying to outrun it.
Exactly.
Yep. So there are a few cards that we can talk about that actually point to this. One that our guy Derek loves to play. Derek handles our deck techs. He loves Villainous Wealth.
Great card.
So. Yeah, X and Sultai. And Derek is known for just generating oodles and noodles of mana. It's ridiculous how he does it.
I can't stand this card.
So he's like, I don't have the answer in my hand. May not even be in my deck, but I think the answer is in your deck. So let's see what you got.
And the best mechanic I think that works for this is actually goad. Goad is I get your creatures. They want to attack me, but they got to go somewhere else. Like they don't got to go home, but they got to get away from me.
And one last card we want to point out is Scheming Symmetry. So I think that the mindset that people need to have when it comes to Scheming Symmetry is that, yes, it is a tutor for you to go find a card that you need for yourself, but negotiate with that other player that you're having go search their library. Make them go search for the answer and to get rid of a threat on the table. So you essentially just played a tutor for one free card or 2 free cards, however you want to do it. So
moving on, I see that Law 9 says win through your actions. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory in Commander, but I think maybe you'll correct me. Win through your actions, go ahead and just actually make moves and make plays that have a purpose towards winning. Don't just do silly things for the sake of being silly or try and gain advantage that you don't have anything to do with. Have a plan Is this just a fancy way of saying have a plan?
That is one way of thinking about it.
But there's another way that we consider this one. So there's a difference between politicking and arguing and trying to beg your way out of a situation. We've run into situations where we go to attack someone and they're like, don't attack me. Why are you attacking me? Go after somebody else. You're like, just shut up and take the hit.
I feel like, we've never actually played a game of Commander together, and yet you describe me throughout this entire video. It's fascinating. It's just you might as well have a tape recorder going at one of my Commander games. So, that's exactly what I sound like.
So Prof, can we call you Prof?
I will allow it. Yes.
All right, Brian. Look here. So. We wrote these laws. We're applying these laws just for you. You figured us out.
That's right.
Cat's out
This is a Commander intervention. This is basically everybody that I've ever played Commander with secretly contacted you guys.
Yeah.
And we're like, you need to intervene here. Set it up as like an episode premise, but the truth, we're just doing an intervention.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're here for you.
All right. Well, then, if you're here for me, tell me a little bit more about win through your actions, then.
I gotcha. So when we talk about win through your actions, we want you to focus more on the gameplay and not necessarily argue, like Ken said, argue your way out of situations, or spend time at the table debating about what should happen or why you made a certain play. Threat assess, everyone can't really threat assess the exact same way. You may think that this permanent on the table is a threat to you, so you want to get rid of it. But, I may want you to get rid of this other thing over here. And I'm going to wonder, hey, why didn't you help out the greater good or the entire table? Again, this is not a team sport.
Yeah, everybody, like Mike Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get popped. So when everybody comes in about how they want to take advantage of the game, and they already have a plot and plan, and your plot and plan may not align up with everyone else's. So you can't get mad if I won't come in and help you at the final hour when this person's board state is overwhelming. It could be that I'm planning to take this person's board state. You have no idea what my plan is. So just try your best and threat assess and take over the environment and make it benefit you.
Play petty, don't be petty.
There we go.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So don't.
I hope you guys have that on a T-shirt or a playmat by now.
It's coming to a T-shirt near you.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're down to the last law then. Law number 10. Avoid the unlucky and the unhappy. I feel that's a very unfair law because that means just avoid playing with me because I'm just unlucky and unhappy when I'm playing. No, that's not true. I'm unlucky but very happy. So, gosh, if I were to guess at this one, this is just about your own attitude. Enjoy the game. If you're coming out of competitive Magic 1v1 and you're maybe more used to tilting out when you lose or taking it really bad, know that Commander isn't always about winning, and that if you're going to obsess over bad draws or bad state of mind, then you're playing the wrong format.
That's right. So as they say in the actual book, 48 Laws of Power, you can die from other people's misery.
Yes.
Other people's negative attitudes and negativity can bring you down. It's an energy that drains your energy and could possibly put you in a bad situation. So I look at the exact same thing when it comes to Magic. You may have some of those players who are just like, I just can't seem to draw enough lands. I just can't seem to fend off these attackers. And then you might find yourself wanting to help them out or, be gracious a little bit. No, don't do that.
Because that's my thing, baby. My favorite thing is when people are stuck on lands, like they might stuck on 2 or 3, and I keep attacking them. Because I have a theory about this. Because once you let off them, they eventually build up enough resources to overtake the table. So I kick you while you down.
That's cold. You basically you cull the weak. Then you're just going in for someone that is down on their luck, and you're just gonna totally wipe them out of the game.
There we go. Because the least they can do is change decks, power shuffle like they should have. Maybe add an extra land or 2 in there. That's their fault.
Oh no! Cruel. It's a cruel game. It's a cruel game.
But yeah, at the end of the day, what we're talking about also is just your state of mind. Like you said, have more positiveness about yourself. And if you are having that bad game, that bad draws, don't try to bring down the energy of the play group. Don't try to, bring other people down to your negative level. Try to keep a positive mind about it. And remember, it is just a game, because I have definitely been in situations where after someone has that bad game and then they go grab their stacks deck and says, all right, since I didn't have fun last game, nobody's having fun this next game.
Right. Very true.
Oh, and I think the perfect card that represents this statement, oddly enough, is Gamble. The red spell that says go get a card and then you randomly choose a card from your hand to put in the graveyard, which happens more time than not to be the card you just went to go get.
That's the way it goes, though, sometimes. Although, also, you can have a Feldon deck where the fact that that card went in your graveyard can be put to good use.
That is true. That means that you actually thought about this and you have a plan.
A rare but occasional occurrence for me, for sure. All right, so these are just 7 overall of the laws that you've gone over, and if people want to go check out more and also hear more detail, because we've, of course, just offered an overview of them, you have a whole playlist on your channel going over each individual law for Commander, or at least many of the ones that you've covered, as well as the other content that I mentioned earlier. So again, people can go check out those links in the video. Cannot recommend it enough. Ken said, thank you guys for coming in today. Why don't you take an opportunity to tell people a little bit more about what to expect on your channel, in addition to finding out more about the laws of power for Commander?
Yeah. So, of course, you can check us out on our YouTube channel, One More Mana. You can find us on Twitter at Mana Squad, where, of course, we'll post the links to our videos. We do our mainstay show, Command Center, where we talk about certain popular commanders and unpopular commanders, and talk about synergies that should be played with those commanders.
We also talk about things on how to beat certain commanders or how to beat certain metas in the format, because we hear how to build these commanders, but also we want to teach you how to tear them down too.
That's right. So we also have our deck techs, deck doctors, deck Derek handles. We have an audio podcast called MTG Fam, Magic the Gathering Family of Magic, where we talk about how, a lot of us are family people. So we talk about how we blend magic with our family life, and just tips for people who are in relationships or are parents as well.
We also are holding a Magic the Gathering trivia show that we've created. That's going to be up and running once everything goes back to normal. We have our first episode up. It's a brand new take on Magic, and test your know-how and your knowledge and skills. And coming soon, we're having the Magic Academy, where we're trying to teach people who are just coming into the game how to play.
Fantastic. Just a wonderful library of resources. Again, I'll have links to all of that in the video description. One last question before you go. You mentioned that really cool sounding Numot deck. Is there a deck tech on the channel for that one?
We did cover it in Command Center and just went over some synergies, but we can have Derek do a deck tech on this one.
I think that's definitely one that I hope to see in the future, because that sounded like a spicy, spicy deck.
Oh, it is very amazing, especially people never see it coming. It comes out of nowhere.
People wonder why I'm the only one attacking Ken when he plays this, because I'm like, you just don't know. Don't be fooled by him.
And then it's funny because then people look at him like he's the antagonizer, and they'll start attacking him. It's like, I don't have 6 mana to summon Dumont. Why are you attacking me?
Beautiful, beautiful. Because at the end of the day, Commander is a format for playing with friends, and of course, beating and torturing those friends with sick plays like that.
That's how we show we care.
So what you're saying is that the Commander should take an already good card and make it better, right, rather than a card that is dead without the Commander that will then be able to do something.
Right. So there's a really good example. I play Zedru the Great-Hearted in Commander. She's the donating goat lady.
Right.
I really enjoy it, and I get a bunch of people who will suggest cards that I should put in it that all have some big drawback, and the idea is that you'll give it away to somebody.
Right.
One of the ones that comes up a lot is aggressive mining, which is a card where you can't play lands and you can sack lands to draw cards, is the basics of what it does, which sounds great because you can make it so someone never plays a land again. Cool stuff, right? Except if, say, I go to cast aggressive mining and they kill my Zedru, I'm now locked out of ever creating enough lands to pay the commander tax to cast my Zedru, and I'm stuck with this card forever and am basically dead in the water.